How's it going, everybody? We are back with another edition of the Layover podcast, the official B2B marketing podcast of the Lost In Network. And today we have an exciting guest for you. Brian Bossuyt is the Chief Marketing Officer of Poconos Mountains, the travel bureau for the Poconos Mountains District. And super excited to talk to him, learn a little bit about his career and some of his travel stories, and most importantly, learn more about the Poconos region and hopefully convince some of you folks to come and pay him and his partners a visit. But Brian, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, so why don't you tell me a little bit about your origin story? Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school? And what got you into the travel industry? And take us a little bit through your backstory.
Sure. I grew up in the Poconos.
Wow, okay.
I actually live not far from where I grew up now. And my parents owned a real estate company. They owned a rental business for rental homes. So in the late 70s, 80s, and 90s, they were basically the Airbnb of the Poconos for a specific area where they managed about 500 homes in four different communities. My sisters and I helped with that a lot when it was crunch time, either before, President's Week in the winter or July 4th week or the fall for Labor Day. We helped strip some beds and clean some units and do all that. So that was an early age for me. I started working in some local family restaurants in the area as well as a teenager, bussing tables, dishwashing, and then doing different things and lifeguarding, you name it. It's a resort
Everything.
area, so if your parents knew somebody when you were that age, they just said, "Hey, you're going to work here." So, um,
Let's go. You
and
learn
then
from the ground up, as they say.
yeah, I was a big skier when I was a kid, and I started working in a ski shop and really just fell in love with that. So after high school, I went to Slippery Rock University out in Western Pennsylvania, and they had a new degree for sports management. So I took that. My goal was to work in the ski industry out of college. So the main focus there was, sports and marketing and business administration. So after I graduated from there, I went back home, started bartending, and I worked for a summer camp. And while I was looking for a job, I found a job at Camelback Resort in the Poconos. And at that time, they were just a ski area. So I started there for just my plan was just to work there for the winter, get some experience, and maybe move out west. And that first year I was there, we decided to build an outdoor water park. And the next year, they promoted me to assistant marketing director. And I just started to learn a lot about skiing and water parks and different parts of the resort industries that supported us and we supported them. And I was there about 20 years, and right when I left, they were just opening a hotel with an indoor water park. We had built an adventure park in that time, expanded the resort, expanded the water park. So it was a really good place to be. And then the job opened up at the Visitors Bureau about 10 years ago. And I've been there ever since, just really marketing the entire region, which covers four counties. We're about the size of the state of Delaware, 2,400 square miles. So we have a
Wow.
lot of different things to really promote, attract, and just doing all kinds of different things with the destination now.
That's awesome. I think from my research, I remember that you still bartend every once in a while to kind of roll up your sleeves and get in with customers and actually hear people who are visiting the region and kind of hear from them from on the ground level, so to speak. I was curious about that. Can you tell me a little bit of how that is an important way for you to build relationships directly with customers and kind of hear what people are saying, on the ground? I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, I did that for a long time. I was almost 30 years, my career here in the Poconos, and bartended one family restaurant, Van Gilder's Jubilee in Pocono Pines. And while I was at Camelback, I would help bartend there as well. And just,
Hmm.
working in different departments, I always liked being around the customers, learning about if the marketing was working, if the programs we put together were being, really looked at. And then the bartending just gave me another way to interact with people. I haven't bartended in a couple of years just because my life is a little busier with this job and my kids. And so, but I do still do a lot of different events. Like 2 weeks ago was the NASCAR event at Pocono Raceway. And I'm
Ah,
really
nice.
ingrained in that event where I spend a lot of time with a lot of the clientele that's there and do a lot of different things with VIP tours. So I get to just do a lot of different things with the customers still. So I still get to have great interaction with different customers and have a lot of fun with that. And for me, that's just a great way to keep my pulse on what's going on, what people like, what people want to find, what they're looking for when they come to the Poconos, and just overall travel. I'm in my 50s. We have a 17-year-old and 10-year-old. So our travel needs are always changing and growing
Hmm.
from when our kids were younger to now they're older. Our teenager wants to do one thing and our 10-year-old wants to do another. So it's just a matter of like hearing that from other families and seeing how they're doing different things. And I just really enjoy being around people and learning from them.
Love it. Love it. So let's talk a little bit about your personal passion for travel. You've been in the hospitality industry for, over 30 years, 20 years at the resort, and now 10 years at your role at the Visitors Bureau. What's a memorable trip that you've done recently? What's something that stands out that was a great experience on your recent travels?
Recently, you know, it was a trip with my father just this spring. He and I went to Tampa, Florida to visit family. A lot of his family's there. They're all mostly retired, and he just retired, so we just wanted to go down and see some of his family. And I never really got to just enjoy Tampa like that, where I just got to walk around, do my own thing a little bit, then spend time with family. And it was a really fun city, and it was a nice getaway for 5 days and just good quality time with my father. So that's the most recent one that was probably most memorable. He and I started doing some father-son trips in the last few years, and um, I like doing those because it's time that we both get to spend together and enjoy. So that's one of them. I would say, I've had some pretty fun trips over my life, and I think my most memorable was my backpack through Europe in the late '90s, right before I got responsibility and a job. And I got to visit 12 countries in 5 weeks, camping and
Wow, wow.
hiking and Eurail. And I look back now, that was a huge opportunity and so much fun. And it was different back then. We didn't have cell phones. I had a disc camera. That's what I took photos on.
No
So,
way, that's crazy.
and yeah, just interacting with people and traveling. So that really got the bug for me, of wanting to see more of different places and trying to branch out and do different things. And that was one of the trips when I was a kid in high school, taking my first ski trip to Vermont. I was like, well, this is great. I want to do this all the time. And, every year we try to do some kind of trip in the winter, whether it's skiing related or not anymore. But for me, it's, I love winter destinations. I love snow just from growing up here. So I'm probably the opposite. I like to go to colder destinations in the winter because
Hmm,
you're already
interesting.
cold. You might as well
Yeah,
enjoy
right.
it.
I know. You might as well, some people like to get out of the cold and go to Hawaii or go somewhere to thaw out. I'm probably of that persuasion, but my kids are now getting to the age where they just absolutely love snowboarding. So my middle daughter wants me to take her on a snowboarding trip for her birthday with a friend this year. So getting back into
Nice.
skiing and snowboarding and obviously, with the expansion of like Icon Pass and a lot of the ski passes now, you can ski internationally. We saw a big trend this year across Lawson of people actually opting to not ski in American destinations and going to Japan or going to Europe and being able to have a comparable ski trip going internationally. Are you following any of those trends, or is that something that you're jumping on, doing international ski trips?
I did a few when I was younger before
Hmm.
kids. Now I think, I'll probably spend most of my fall looking at colleges because my daughter's going to be a senior.
Oh, nice.
So maybe we'll have to go see a winter college somewhere,
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about Poconos. I sadly have never been. I mentioned to you I had an employee who was from that region, and when I hired him, he moved back and worked from home with his parents during COVID for a while. But tell us about the Poconos. What should people envision? What should they expect if they haven't been to the region? And what are some of the reasons why you would encourage our viewers to come check out the Poconos?
Sure. I mean, we're definitely a four-season destination, so there's something to
Nice.
do year-round. Um, a lot of outdoor activities, from whitewater rafting and lakes. I think we have 250 lakes in the region. Um, we have three great rivers. There's a lot of hiking and biking. Part of the destination's on the Appalachian Trail in the Delaware Water Gap area. Um, there's a lot of different things you can do with boating, a lot of unique attractions. We do have a lot of treetop courses, adventure parks, UT adventure tours. If you're worried about weather, we have four indoor water park hotels that are just massive and so much fun and so much to do under the roof. So if there is bad weather, you can be in there. They also have a lot of outdoor amenities. Camelback's one of them. They have indoor outdoor water parks in the summer, the indoors year round, snow tubing, skiing, and adventure park year round. Well, skiing and snow tubing in the winter, but the adventure park's open mostly year round. They also have summer snow tubing, which is pretty fun as well. So, and then Kalahari, that's our largest resort. They have, I think we're the second largest indoor water park that they have in the country. So a lot of fun things there. They have an adventure park there as well. But then you have classic resorts like Skytop and Woodlock that, have been here forever, and they're just all about hospitality, high touch, family oriented, really great places to be. The lodge at Woodlock, which is next to Woodlock, is I think top three in the country for spa resorts.
Wow.
We just had a new hotel, the Swiftwater, open last year. It's been open about a year. It's a 100-room boutique hotel that really just caters to that luxury stay, but they want you to get out and enjoy the Poconos. So they set up excursions for you the whole time. They don't want you to hang out at the hotel during the
Mm.
day. They want you to come back, relax, enjoy dinner, their pool, their nice amenities. But they really put together excursions for you to get out and enjoy. We have Pocono Raceway. We have a NASCAR race here once a year. It's usually in June and July. We have the NASCAR racing experience for stock car racing, where you can actually go ride in a NASCAR or drive a NASCAR.
Wow. That's
Um,
cool.
so that's pretty unique. We have a lot of different paintball options. Our small towns are probably our best kept gems. In the four counties, we have, towns like Honesdale, Hawley, Milford, Stroudsburg, Delaware Water Gap, Jim Thorpe. And they're all these great, small, quaint, historic towns that have local shops, restaurants, breweries, wineries. There's some art scene going on, music, a lot of outdoor amphitheaters that pop up in the summer that are natural in the natural small amphitheaters that do a lot of different music things and a lot of fun things going on throughout the year. In the fall, it's amazing with the leaves changing. We have so many different
Mm.
species of trees that the colors are just crazy. And we do a whole fall foliage map of when to start coming and planning your vacation and what regions to go to see the most colors throughout the fall, starting from, early September through mid-November. And fall in the Poconos, there's just a lot to do with different festivals. You can do apple picking, you can do pumpkin picking, doing all different things like that and getting out and just enjoying. We have a beverage trail and a museum trail that's, online and mobile, and you can go to different breweries, wineries, and distilleries and plan it around events and different things that you're doing. And our museum trail we just launched, basically, it's taking all the different historic options throughout the four counties, including the historical societies. There's also live audio tours on that trail that talk about the
Mm.
history. So when you're planning, you can learn a little bit more about the museum or the history before you plan it and plan out your trip. So just a lot of unique things that we try to do to make it really easy for the guests to find what they're doing. We launched our own television network in 2017, and now we're on, I think we're in about 30 million homes with that. It runs
Wow.
24/7. Yeah, so we have a lot of information you can find. Our app for the television network is on every major TV platform and mobile platform, as well as you can find it on some cable systems, over the air in some markets, and on our website. So there's a lot of ways that we've really tried to cater to making it more visual to see the things that you want to see. We're a great family destination. We're also a great destination for, couples that want to just get away and enjoy and find time to themselves, or just reconnect with each other from their busy lives. We're close to New York and Philly, so it's an easy couple-hour drive here. So you don't have to like go through the craziness and traveling all day to get somewhere. You can really just get in the car and come here and start your vacation. We have a lot of options for vacation rental homes as well. So no matter what you're looking for, there's something that you can really kind of tailor your trip to. And, we've really tried to use data and information to help find that information as fast as possible.
Yeah, I love that. I want to dive in to the tactical a little bit on the marketing side. I think that idea that you guys created your own television station or television network is probably pretty insightful, and probably you were early to that strategy. Now it feels like almost every brand, whether it's Marriott hotels or others, airlines, everybody wants to have these own media channels because they've got distribution. So did you guys start the television network, before kind of the revolution of fast channels and kind of the ease of the easy ability to kind of start your own either linear or VOD content? Like, tell me a little bit about that strategy and how it's evolved.
Yeah, so we partnered. We're still partners with them, but with WM Vision, for our live camera network. So they're weather cameras that we have. We have about 45 of them now throughout so you can kind of see where you're going to visit, and see what the weather's like. They're live streaming cameras that you can watch. And in 2017, they were like, "Hey, we have this Dot 2 channel. Do you want to try and see if you can start adding content to it?" And we started that with the live cameras, and then we were shooting production shoots for commercials, and then we were doing some other things. So we just started to load some content on there. And in 2018 and 2019, I started talking to our local cable networks, and they were looking for content, and we had content we could supply. So we in 2019 we got a full channel on Blue Ridge Cable, our own, that was
Wow.
on their basic plus tier, and within a month they were seeing enough visitation that they added it to their basic tier. So we've had our own channel on there since 2019. And then during COVID, we were shooting a lot more stuff. We had already started to we hired our first videographer and first host to really kind of start to go out and get different content. And then during COVID, we started doing some live broadcasts with our local hospital systems weekly. And out of that,
Mm,
we turned that into a monthly hour show now, where we do about probably 20 to 30, 8 to 15 minute packages within that hour, that's based on different things you can do in the Pocono Mountains, different community partners we work with, nonprofits, really trying to find, the awareness for everyone. The goal of this was to get people within the destination start to learn about the destination and travel within the destination. Then we started to expand out to cable companies within the markets of like Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, Allentown. We partnered with WFMZ, and we were able to get an over-the-air signal in Philadelphia on WDPN 2.8 in 2020. So that gave us over-the-air access to the Philadelphia market. And we've constantly, since 2020, have done that monthly show every month, where we're getting 40 minutes of content new every month that we're just using for evergreen content, other things of that nature for the channel. And I think we have about 400 hours of content that we run on the channel now. And we switched from WM Vision to AWS 2 years ago, and we now can program the station with we can traffic it and program it the way we want. If our members have commercial spots, we add them on as commercial spots as part of the membership of our DMO. And we do things with other local vendors or communities. If they have, PSAs, we'll add those on so people see them. Our reach has just continued to grow. We're on 16 cable networks. I think 11 of those are a dedicated channel to us 24/7. We're over the air in 6 markets, and we're on 12 OTT and mobile apps. So we just
Wow.
continue to grow the reach, and we built a data lake with AWS last year, so we're using all of that data that we're getting into that to really kind of show where we need to be, where our marketing works, and what's the content people really want from us. So we use data to make a lot of the decisions, and that's how we kind of started this project. I mean, to be honest, we started the TV network thinking it would be a great way to get locals, and
Like kind
we
of
just
this
started to really,
staycation
yeah,
marketing. Yeah.
yeah. And then we really just looked at the technology that was out there, and we were in the right place at the right time because we already had the content in the vehicle. Now there were so many ways we could expand with different partners like Vimeo to build our OTT apps, um, working with AWS and Imagine to get our TV network on a really wide network and being able to do different things. And we do live shoots with live view. So we did a live shot over NASCAR weekend twice for different things with race car drivers. And that's even more content we get to add in. So we have a great team. We have 4 videographers and 3 hosts.
So
And
that team's even expanded since that
yeah, and
first pod you set up.
yeah, we do everything in house. We buy all of our own media. We don't really have agencies that we work with. We do something with one of our production companies. They help us kind of run the network, and then we have our website company that we work with. But everything else is done in house, and
Wow.
um, yeah, we've really just kind of put the money we would have spent on working with different agencies into building up our team and putting those direct benefits back into our marketing buys.
Yeah, well, it seems like you guys almost are an agency on behalf of not just the region, but your network of partners and members as well. So you guys kind of serve as a marketing services organization, a way for those partners to get reach and exposure and assets and kind of all that stuff.
Yeah, and that was the goal, to really be a community benefit to the destination nonprofits, our members. We have a lot of small members that don't have marketing teams or the budgets to work with agencies. So as part of being members of our organization and our destination, we find ways to really just help them. And it's been like a great way to just get more people to learn about those hidden things of the Pocono Mountains, those smaller businesses. And our team is great. They're constantly looking at trends and helping our members learn about things they should be watching for, just even in a smaller scale, like on their social media channels, even if they're not boosting or buying ads on them, just like what they can do better and how they can reach more people. So we've really just tried to get those tools to those businesses so that we're all successful. That's the goal, that everyone's successful in the Poconos.
Yeah, it's smart. So, it's in our role at Loston, we deal with lots of DMOs. We deal with big ones like country level DMOs like Switzerland or Austria, down to like, neighborhoods like, Venice Beach, California, or downtown New York or Santa Monica. What's really interesting is kind of learning how each of these DMOs kind of gets their funding and is able to then deploy marketing dollars on behalf of their partners. Some are supported by the national government on a dollar for dollar match. Some are raised by local taxes or levies or hotel taxes. Some have a membership model where they have a network of partners that are key stakeholders in the region who all pay in annual dues and subscriptions. Without getting too inside of the weeds, how are you guys set up to fund operations? Is it a blend of those or one of those that I hit on?
Yeah, we have a lodging tax for our 4 counties. And then we do have a membership fee, but that's about like 1% of our budget. So the majority of our budget is coming from the lodging tax. So
Got it.
so we have that set up in our state, and that's how So we cover 4 counties, so each county has its it gives their portion of the lodging tax, and that's what we use. So we put 86% of that budget into marketing every year. The rest just covers
Wow.
expenses and costs. So our goal is to, find maybe new ways to help offset some of the expenses for the television station, where we might do some bumper campaigns or some of that nature in the future. But really, we try to put, 85 to 90% of our revenue into marketing, because that's really what the goal is, to get people here. And we do some other community-based programs, some co-ops, and some other things where we use some of those dollars to help projects within the destination, or members can buy into a co-op where we basically match 50% of their buy and do all the work for them. So we double their buys and get them placed in the different markets they want to be in. So
Very cool. What are the main audiences that you guys are trying to reach to drive awareness and drive arrivals for Poconos? Do you guys have certain feeder markets? Do you guys try and reach international travelers? What's kind of the makeup of the types of demographics that you guys are looking to attract to the region?
sure. Um, we're really a drive destination,
Hmm.
so our major market, like 60% of our visitors are coming from the New York DMA, whether that's
Mm.
the 5 boroughs, Long Island, going up into the White Plains area and northern New Jersey. That's really where a lot of our customers come from. It's about 2 hours away from that market along Route 80 or Route 84. We really focus, and then we probably get another 10 to 15% from the Philadelphia DMA, which is South Jersey, the counties around Philly and Philadelphia. And then we do pretty well in the Harrisburg, Lebanon, Lancaster market in York, um, and DC. We get a pretty good reach from, depending on the time of the year. We get more from the DC market in the winter because they're coming north to ski. And then we also do fairly well in the Hartford, Connecticut market. So
Mm.
that all rounds out with, so, I would say it's like
Tri-state.
60% New York, yeah, and
Yeah.
then 10% Philly, and then the rest all kind of fill in equally, including local market with those. But our main demo is females, 35 to 54
Hmm.
moms that make the decisions for travel
Yeah.
in the household. And
The chief
that,
household officer, as they call them, right?
yes. And, our marketing kind of caters to them in a lot of ways. So that's probably our tier one. Our tier two would be that young adult that wants to get out and enjoy travel experiences, looking at our small towns, doing the unique things that you can do outside here in this market. And we really cater to that market. We use a lot of online advertising for them because that's where we know they're at. For that older market, it's a mix of broadcast, connected TV, digital, and all of that. But for that second tier, we're really just looking at that, traveler that's younger and has time and income and wants to get away, but doesn't have as much time. But it's for the drive market, so we really look at that. And then the third market we hit is 50 and older, that those retirees, but also have a lot of family units, and looking at the Poconos like a place for a family reunion, reconnecting
Mm.
with the family, bringing generations together, and doing different things. We have a lot of resorts that cater to that, and we've seen that that's a really good market for us. We're close enough to major markets where people can come together in the Poconos and really spend a week or two together and just have not necessarily a family reunion, but those places where they can all
Those
congregate
gatherings.
together and have different things and still do their own experiences. So we've really seen those are how we really looked at our markets, with that top tier market, probably the most that we focus on. So
Got it. And then if people are doing those kind of reunion trips where maybe they do have family members, is Philadelphia the major feeder from an airport perspective? Like, where do you fly into if you want to visit the Poconos?
uh, well, I would say probably Newark and
Newark.
Philadelphia.
Okay. Yep. Hmm.
And then, Allentown is a viable option depending on where you're coming from in the country, and so is Scranton Wilkes-Barre. Um, there are regional flights for those two markets, but if you're coming from, you know, cross country or somewhere, Newark and Philly are probably the easiest. We're still about
Hmm.
2 hours away, but I would say probably 75% to 80% of our travelers drive here from drive markets. So
Got it.
we don't get a
Got it.
lot of international unless the international traveler is coming to those cities like Philly and New York, and then they plan trips around it. That's kind of where we see the international spike from. So we've done advertising in those markets to different, we've done some Spanish speaking, um, we've done some things that targeted the Japanese population as well that have done really well just because we know where they're traveling in those cities. So we've used data for that. Spanish speaking's done very well too. So
Mm.
um, and just because there is a lot of Spanish speaking population in New York and Philadelphia as well. So we want to target them as well so that they know the Poconos is a good viable option for vacations for them too.
That's awesome. And you talked a little bit about, some of the demographics of the audience. As far as price point, would you say, are you guys targeting luxury, family, value travelers, a little bit of do you guys have options for kind of all price ranges, or is there kind of an HHI target that feels, more accessible for your region?
We try to target most markets, campaign wise, but our
Hmm.
sweet spot is that household income of 150 plus.
Hmm.
We look at, we break it down to like, do they own a vehicle? Have they traveled? What's their household income? Are there kids? So we try to get as much data as we can when we're building the campaign. So the creative that we're going after that target speaks to them. So if we're doing like a luxury campaign, we know what mediums and what markets we really want to hit. And if we're doing a family component, we kind of look at where we're going to do with that, what the campaign messaging is going to be. So we really use the information to build out the campaign and then that creative that goes with that campaign. And then it's not just, we don't really use the shock and effect. We have some branding campaigns, but those are more just that they're constantly running just as, just to keep people reminded of the brand. But we really do some targeted campaigns based off demographic, household income, and what we're really trying to accomplish. So we started doing that a few years ago, and that's what really helped us build our messaging for the television station too. So we're getting to the point now where we have enough data where we can see when people are watching what creative is working well on the television network too. So that also helps us with marketing and creating TV spots as well. So all of that's coming together and really helping us be more efficient in what we're doing.
That's really cool. So you're also using the television network as almost a proving ground for content. So you kind of see what people watch organically, what is resonating, and then you can actually take some of those learnings and insights and then develop that into your campaignable ideas and your 30s and your 15s and your short form assets.
Yeah, it's so each package we break down in the monthly show, and then we also air those on our YouTube channel.
Mm.
So we can see which packages are really being ingested on that level, as well as the ones that are being ingested on our television station, because we also load each episode on the website of the television station so we can see what's being watched there as well, outside of what's being watched on YouTube. So it gives us enough data to really see which messaging is resonating, not necessarily that package, but if we see messages that are really driving a lot of viewership, then we're like, well, what were we really trying to promote there? And then we can take some of those insights and then say, well, maybe we should develop a 15 or a 30 around this for broadcast and connected TV. And then maybe we should look at what social posts we're doing and do like a 10 or a 15-second reel on something similar. So it's really not utilizing the same content, but taking the insights of all that content to make the campaigns work.
Interesting. And do you find that you attract audiences into the television network? Is it people visiting it for, would you say, inspiration because they're, like, I don't know, I like to watch, Anthony Bourdain, for instance, like old reruns of Anthony Bourdain. One because I just love his personality and I love, the things that he does, but I like to use it for like inspiration of like, oh, okay, here's an idea of where I might go next because these cool restaurants or, in the city and the chef was featured. Do you find people find the television content for like more like entertainment purposes, or are they actually going there to plan trips and to get insights?
I think it's a little bit of both. So
Hmm.
we started to do more series, like we just launched the chef series where we're doing
Mm,
like introspective with some of our local chefs. So we just did series one of that. We've started a music series with local artists, partnering with a local radio station and our cable network to do a Pocono showcase on local artists. We started, I think we're going into season 3 with that. So getting that information, then we've done Pocono perspectives, which can be anywhere from 15 minutes to 40 minutes, talking to people that really started the Poconos, the history of the Poconos, so people really
mm,
understand where we've come from, where we're going, what, those things. So that's usually our evening content. But we've really seen spikes every month because we really promote heavily that the monthly show is coming out the first Sunday of each month at 8 p.m. So we see a spike every month on that because they know they're going to get new content on something that's going to go on where they get, you know, 20 to 30 packages on information. Um, the one thing we've seen a lot of, and we've done this purposely, so all the billboards on all the major arteries coming into the Pocono Mountains, all they do is promote downloading the PTN app, and it
ah,
says everywhere you are. So when you get to the destination, you can go right to that app and our website. You can research what you want to find, but you can look for videos based off the activities you want to do because they're all broken out into categories on the app on what you want to find. So really started to see now that we're more purposeful and building our app much like it looks like a Netflix or a Roku, where your top seeded content's there and then activities and categories. We've added metadata now so you can start searching for different videos. So we're starting to see that take off. We just started this, but in the first month of having this, we can now see what people are searching for on the website and then go into the television network to find the clips of the things, the activities they want to do, and that's really starting to resonate. So I think as we learn more from that, we'll see that. But I think we have, we can see people in California watching the television station for like an hour and a half to 2 hours, and it's not a Sunday, so they might just be from the Poconos and they miss the Poconos, or they might be, we don't have that much data on stuff like that, but for the on our apps, if they are on the app, their average time of watching is 2 hours to 2.5 hours daily.
wow, that's
So
pretty
we're
good.
getting a lot of that. And we see when those spikes are, a lot of that's around the monthly show. But if they're on something, they're usually on for a half an hour or longer outside of those Sundays. And those are starting to grow. And we're going to be launching on Vizio in a couple weeks. So that'll be the
Mm,
most recent, between iOS, Roku, and our website. Those are the top performers. But I think once Vizio launches, that'll probably be one of the top performers as well. So
yeah, that'll be a big driver for sure. Congratulations on that. That's a great distribution partner. Um, are you guys tapping into travel influencer culture and user-generated content? Are you guys doing any kind of licensing or kind of pulling in content that you discover out in the wild on social that's being created by either visitors and or professional class of creator influencers that are good enough content that you guys can leverage on the TV channel?
yeah, we use a lot of user generated content more for our web and marketing purposes, not so
Mm,
much on the TV channel. I've been a firm believer in UGC since it was heavily started, 5 or 6 years ago. Um, we use a lot of that. Like most of the photos that we use in our travel guide were UGC, and we credited every person that we used. We've done that the last couple of years. Um, we're even looking at adding some UGC content to billboards and crediting them because I believe if we start to credit more people, we get more credibility and we get better content. We have looked at the video angle of it more on the social side than the TV side. Um, that's something I may look at in the future. We have done some things with influencers. I don't do as much because we have 3 hosts that I consider our influencers that are
Yeah, you have
getting the
kind of
boots on the ground
in-house
running.
influencers,
But
so to speak.
we've partnered with, Visit PA and some other partners with some of their influencers or some of our members of it's all relationship based. So, we work with some that we've had really good relationships with over the years. Some of our member properties are the same, and then we all put our heads together. It's a partnership, so we all try to figure out what's the best use of that. And we've had some great content from that. A lot of content has come from our own things. A lot of content's come from our members. So, but yeah, UGC I think is great because it shows the visitor people like them enjoying our destination. And I think that's always going to be something that people look for. They want to see themselves at that place, not just, the shiny, happy people that are sometimes on TV. So
Yeah, it's more relatable. Maybe it looks kind of, like your audience because it's being shot by people who are, you know, not necessarily actors or models or professional hosts. They're, professional creators, but yeah, it gives it that kind of realistic authenticity. You mentioned something that I wanted to drill down on a little bit more, partnership with Visit PA. That's another thing that I've noticed is when there are regional DMOs like yourselves, sometimes they ladder up into a larger state level DMO or regional DMO. Is Visit PA the main kind of DMO that's above you guys that you partner with and partner with other regions within within the area? Is that kind of the major ladder up partnership that allows you to maybe punch above your weight class a little bit?
yeah, we over the last couple of years, we were lucky enough now to have a governor who's really tourism centric and has really kind
Yep.
of rebuilt that Visit PA brand and office. Um, we partnered with Pocono Raceway for the NASCAR race last year, where we've sponsored the Saturday Xfinity race, and Visit PA sponsored the Sunday NASCAR race, and the same thing was this year. So we've developed a great partnership with them and collaboration, and finding ways to do more with them to help with. Next year's the year of events in PA between 2026 and the some quincentennial for
Yep.
America 250, and then FIFA coming to the
Yeah, World
Northeast,
Cup.
as well as,
Yeah.
yeah,
hmm
World Cup. The NFL draft is going to be in Pittsburgh next year. Um,
Wow.
the All-Star game for MLB is going to be in Philly next year. So like Pennsylvania just got a lot of stuff going on. So we're looking at ways to help them with that. And also for all those people coming to PA so they can find the Poconos as well. And we have great relationships with the DMOs throughout the state. There's a lot of times we all come together for issues or looking at things or brainstorming off different marketing ideas. So that is one nice thing about our state. We're very collaborative and open to conversations, and it's kind of nice to see that because yes, we can all be competitors at some point, but we're all driving for the same thing. We want people to come to Pennsylvania. We want people to come to our destinations, and we want them to come back and have the best experience as they can. So I think a lot of that, we try to do that here, and we try to work with other destinations that are like-minded.
Nice. All right. So if somebody is designing their perfect Poconos trip, what are some of the things that absolutely have to be on that list?
Well, first of all, I think it depends on who you are and what you're looking
Yeah.
for. If you're kids, I definitely would say, depending on the age of your kids, one of the water parks, the indoor water parks, is a must because
Mm,
you can come there and not worry about the weather. And there's so much to do around them that you can kind of plan out your days around them, and you can spend one day in the water park and then go explore the region. And they all have great restaurants and amenities on there, but there's tons of great things that you can find and do and eat in the small towns around them. you know one of my favorite places is Skytop Resort. I think it's over 100
mm,
years old now. It's just a gorgeous place, whether you're family or couples. There's so much to do there. It's so much fun. And it's just that if you're thinking of like that old iconic resort, that's the place, and the views are amazing. That's why it's called Skytop. It's like 360
mm,
views all over the place. Any time of the year, it's great. Looking at, you know, family resorts like Woodlock, and then you have like in Holly area, you have like Ledges Resort and Settlers Inn, and they're right in downtown Holly. And Ledges is built on a waterfall, the old silk mill. So there's just
oof.
all these unique experiences. Jim Thorpe, just a great town to go to anytime. There's a train ride there. It looks like Switzerland. It's a resort. It's a town that hasn't changed since the early 1800s, and it's just a beautiful town with some great food and amenities and amazing hiking. The DNL trails there, the Delaware Water Gap that connects Stroudsburg and Delaware Water Gap and Milford. So there's so much to do in the National Recreation Area, and then it's
Mm,
bookend by these amazing small towns with so many other things to do. There's just
that's
a lot
cool.
that you can do year round. I mean, if you're coming to ski, we have 6 ski resorts that all
Wow.
are great. Blue Mountain is known nationally for their snowmaking. I think they were voted the top snowmaking resort in the country the last couple of years. So their snow was always amazing. Camelback has so much to do because they have the indoor water park there and all the other things they have going on. Shawnee is a classic resort that's been in skiing. I think they're celebrating their 50th anniversary this year, and just a great ski mountain that family and everyone can have a great time at. Ski Big Bear is up here near Woodlock. Another great low resort. There's a lot of vacation homes around that resort that you can go and rent a house and go skiing for the weekend and have a great time. And just so many different places you can go and enjoy. And yeah, it's just we're lucky to have it. Jack Frost and Big Boulder are here too. So they're twin mountains. And Jack Frost is open during the day, Big Boulder's open at night. Um, they're owned by Vail Resorts, and
Oh,
they're
nice.
that
So they're
that
part of the
that
Vail
classic.
Pass.
Yeah, so they're kind of that classic old resort as well. We have a ton of golf courses, so if you like golfing, we have some amazing golf courses and just all kinds of different things you can do. Like you can go into like a you go race in a stock car one day, and then go have a fine dining experience, and then go jump in a river and go whitewater rafting.
Sounds amazing. Sounds amazing. You're getting my adrenaline up to check it out for sure. What would you say is an optimal stay length? Like if I wanted to come to the Poconos and really give myself enough time to do as much as possible, what would you say is a sweet spot for a booking
I would say, depending on your schedule, 3 days would definitely be the minimum to try and get as
minimum?
much as
Yeah.
you can. I think for a lot of people, when they come for the week, there's a lot of things that they can do because we are a rural destination. You have to remember that. So if
Hmm.
you want to go to different things, there is driving periods in between them. So there
Yeah.
are places where you can stay at a resort and there's a lot to do around you. But if you want to get out and explore, that could be 20, 30, 40 minutes away, depending on where you want to go. So a lot of people I know come to one part where they'll come stay in Jim Thorpe one time, then they'll come back and they'll stay in Milford another time, and they'll spread it out because of
Do
their,
different
you know,
trips to the different
yeah,
regions versus trying to
depending
pop
on,
around.
yeah, and then people find their favorites, but then they add another day to go explore. So we've seen a lot of that lately too, and I think that came out of COVID
Hmm.
where people came for 2 nights and they're like, well, maybe we'll just add on a night and then go explore, spend our day seeing something before we head home. So we've seen a lot
Yeah.
of that too. Um, but between the vacation homes and the resorts, we've seen stays get longer. Um, but we've also seen we're a lot of last minute, decisions. People's lives are
Mm,
busy. If you have
yeah.
kids and they're in travel sports, there might be that time when you're like, oh, we have this weekend off. Let's go.
Let's
Let me look at
go.
the Poconos. And then, we've seen shorter booking windows for sure, more than we ever have. And I also think that's a technology thing.
Oh
People use
yeah.
technology so much better. Their time is very, you know, scheduled out. And when they get an open, they're like, oh, we have time to do this. Let's book it now. And that might be the next day. So we've seen a lot of that too. So I think that's the one thing with travel we're going to see over time is technology is going to make it easier to do travel, but it's also going to short the traveling booking window. And I think that's tough on operations for resort
Yeah, it's
and
hard for operations to
attractions.
plan yield and understand. They get nervous because they're not booked a certain amount of time out, and then all of a sudden they're full. When the day comes. I just got back from 2 weeks, 2 days in Europe. I went out there for Cannes. for the advertising festival, but flew into Milan, who's a client of mine, and went down into Lake Garda and spent some time on the Italian Riviera. And then we went through the Alps. And the only bookings that I had before we came into town were the one night in Milan, the 2 nights in Lake Garda, and then the 6 days in Cannes. And then everything else we booked same day, which is,
Yeah,
some people think that's crazy.
I think that's a trend that we're going to see more of. And that's
Yeah, well,
why I
people like
always
to
go
road
back to,
trip and.
yeah, that's why I always go back to, that's why I want to get as much data as possible to help
Mhm.
people understand those trends, whether they're longer booking windows or those really short booking windows. What's really driving those short booking windows? Like we've started to layer in weather. Like is weather driving that?
Mm.
We've layered in demographic. Is it age points that are making those decisions? Are they younger, they older? So it's just a matter of like getting the data now and understanding that. And I think in marketing, those are some of the things you have to always take into consideration. Learning from your data is probably the best way to make the decisions that we need to make. It's not that old adage of this is how we all done it. Like for me,
Yeah.
it's well, what's the story of data telling us, and who should we target? When should we target them? And then how do we get that information out to the businesses and the destination to understand that?
Yeah, and like you said too, how is technology and how will AI, I've tried some of the AI travel, agents, whatever they're called. I don't really, I trust my own research a little bit better than I trust the AI, at least at this point, but it can be helpful for inspiration for sure. So
Yeah.
we talked about a tentpole moment with the NASCAR race and the activation around the speedway. Are there any other tentpole moments throughout the years that travelers should be thinking about as moments to kind of build a trip around that would be interesting because of things that are happening locally?
Yeah. This time of year in July and August, we get into fair season with county fairs,
Mm,
and we have some really like great county fairs. Like a couple of them are over 100 years old. They're just,
mm.
right outside some of our great towns. So they're just fun to explore and see. And, and they're like, they start in late July, early August, and they're one week after another. So, we have the Wayne County Fair, the Carbon County Fair, the Green Dreher Fair, and then the West End Fair. So those are all like things in August that you can kind of plan your trip around because they're week-long fairs. So you can go whatever day you want to go, depending on when you're here. Fall foliage, I mean, that's probably one of the biggest seasons for us, depending on where you want to go and when you want to go. Um, the weekends can get a little hectic, but midweek in the fall is just a lot of fun, going to places like Milford and Honesdale and Hawley and Jim Thorpe and Stroudsburg and just getting to walk around the town and see all the beautiful fall colors. And then there's hiking trails around all of them, and you can just get out and do different things. Um, the company that runs the stock car racing experience, they also do sidekick tours, which is the Polaris sidekick, where you can go out and
Oh
spend the
yeah,
roof
those are
driving
great.
around, and
Hmm.
you do fall foliage tours. Those are a lot of fun. We have some great motorcycle routes that people come and ride for fall foliage for
Ah,
motorcycle riding. Yeah, so there's just, you know, there's different events that happen throughout the year. Um, there's a lot of things. I feel like we're in anniversary season, like next year's the 100th anniversary of the Lake Wallenpaupack. So
yeah,
there's a lot of
100th
things going
anniversary
on.
of Route 66, I think, is next
Yeah,
year. A lot
So
of
there's
cool things.
there's just a lot of, we have Route 6 that goes through PA that ends up here and ends in Milford. So there's a lot of like that's a fun route that a lot of people bike and drive on in the summer. So there's just a lot of different unique things that go on, and that's one thing that a lot of people search us for is the different events throughout the year. So we really have a pretty robust event calendar for not only major events but community events. We've seen a lot of people looking for those community events too, because when they're here, they want to go to like street fairs or farmers
Yep.
markets or even fireman festivals, if they're
They
doing
want
a
to live
bingo
like a
night or
local.
carnival. Yeah, they want to just go experience it. And I love promoting those too because it helps our local economy and gets people to understand what our destination is and who lives here and who, you know, is from here and enjoys here. And a lot of our residents love spending time in the Poconos and enjoying all the different things we have to do too.
That's cool. I saw you guys produce a travel guide. Is that, tell me a little bit about what's gone into that. Is that an important asset for you guys?
Yeah, they had taken that away before I got here. They had stopped doing it, and then we had like we actually formed a committee and we interviewed stakeholders and we found out that a lot of people still really wanted to have a travel guide and a lot of our visitors were asking for it. So we brought it back
Hmm.
8 years ago.
Okay.
We put it out. It usually comes out the week before Memorial Day weekend every year. Um, we work with a local printing company where they really help us put it together. And our team writes the content. They they work on getting all the information for it, and it's done really well. I think we do about 200,000 copies a year, and
Wow.
we don't have any left at the end of the year generally.
No
So
way. That's
I think this
great.
year we might have had 10,000 left. So, um, and but like our visitor center in Jim Thorpe gets about 400,000 visitors a year, and a lot of those travel guides come out of that. So, and that's because there's a train right there. It's an old train station, but like our visitor center at the lake, that does, probably about 20,000 to 30,000 visitors a year. And we also partner with all the state visitor centers, and that's where a lot of the travel guides go to. But we get a lot of requests. I think we get about 400 requests a month for people for our travel guide. So we
Wow.
do send a lot out still. So and that's just something that we'll continue to do if people are taking it. If we start to see people aren't taking it, then we may not do it. But right now, the demand is still there for it. So
Yeah, I love that. Well, you guys talked a little bit earlier about a really cool way where you guys are driving, all those billboards that feed into the region, and then people are seeing, oh, cool, I can find out more about different attractions, and I can watch videos and learn more, and I can have a digital experience, I can have a video experience, and then, Lost in, we produce physical travel guidebooks. That's still our bread and butter and our core business. And we believe that consumers, even millennials and Gen Z, there's kind of a shift back to like digital detox and getting offline. And, sometimes you can't trust these third party, peer reviewed or peer curated travel sites. They kind of become hard to navigate and hard to always believe. So a lot of times travelers are looking for a curated point of view or an authority like the travel bureau, who might have an unbiased, or at least maybe we all have our biases, but we have a point of view. And if people align and respect our brand, then they want to see our point of view and our curation of what we think an area is cool in a given area. So I always love to hear how different visitors bureaus are using the medium of travel guides. So, well,
yeah,
awesome,
and
Brian. Well, oh, good. Please continue.
I was gonna say our visitor centers are full of rack cards that still go all the time too. So.
Let's go. Let's go. Well, I was gonna say we are coming up on the hour, so I want to give you an opportunity to use the end of the show to direct folks to any resources or anything that you want to send people to learn more about the Poconos Mountain region, and also if anybody's watching that wants to connect with you to potentially partner or have ideas, if they want to try and get in touch with you directly. If you want to point folks in either of those two directions, go ahead and give them the credentials.
Sure. So, for research, always go to poconomountains.com. You can also go to poconotelevision.com for the television station. Our social media is at Pocono Tourism. For me, you can reach me at bbossett@poconos.org. Um, And, I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, and all that as well. You can always find me there. But yeah, PoconoMountains.com is probably our best resource for everything. Everything we've talked about today is on there. It directs you to our television station. You can see all of our live cameras there. You can learn about all the different events that we have, and it's just a great resource. My team is amazing. They put new content up every day, and um, you know, we wouldn't be here where we are without the amazing team that we have at the Pocono Mountain Visitors Bureau. So, I'm blessed to have a great team and have a great community and destination. So
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for spending some time with our audience today. For those of you who are watching at home, if this is your first time seeing the show and you want to see more conversations with travel leaders like Brian, don't forget to give us a subscribe or a follow wherever you might be watching the show. And if you give us an honest review on whatever podcast platform you are listening or watching, that's how the show finds a wider audience organically. And most importantly, if there's somebody out there who you think would enjoy a trip to the Poconos Mountains, a marketer that you think could learn a little bit about our conversation with Brian today, or somebody who you think would benefit from being a member of the Loston community and traveling alongside of us, don't forget to share the show. And with that, Brian, we'll go ahead and sign off. Thanks again for coming on.